All right, welcome back. As promised, I am joined now by Reeta, the NFL Chick. Told you guys I'm trying to get some of my favorites from the year on for this close of the season, close of the year podcast extravaganza. And so I'm so happy that Reeta was able to join me. Reeta, always a pleasure to have you. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for always having me on.
Well, it's always such a pleasure, and I know the last time I laughed so hard. It was just so much fun. I think the last time you and I talked, it was with you and me and Vashti. So and
Yes.
I'm gonna have Vashti on next week, so I'm excited to talk to her too. But your Ravens, just such a disappointing year. A lot of injuries. Give us a summary of how it all went down.
I mean, it started from week one, The Ravens lost, even before that, in training camp. They lost Matt Elam, their first round draft pick, who he was going to be in his final year of his contract. Lost him for the year. And then in week one, they obviously lost Terrell Suggs, and it just kind of started the spinning out of control that we have now. So the Ravens have the most players on injured reserve right now.
I was wondering who
Obviously,
it
it could have.
was. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
it's
talking
us
about that last
by
night.
far.
Wow. Oh,
By
yeah?
far,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's like 20
How many do
players or
you?
something like
Oh,
that.
wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you can tell this has just been a difficult year. Flacco never has been hurt since as being a pro, and he gets hurt this
Yeah.
game, and he tears not only one but two ligaments in his knee.
Yeah.
So,
I
it's
know.
just
It's
been a
sad.
very yeah, it's been a very hard and trying year. I think that when you are used to your team and your organization being
Mhm.
really good, you're not used to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
This they haven't been this bad since their inaugural
Ever.
season.
Yeah,
Their
really. I
inaugural
mean,
season, it was 4-12.
oh,
So
was
I mean,
it?
the Ravens,
Okay.
they can match that right now, if they lose
Yeah.
out. So it's just been difficult, but I have hope because they are a good run organization.
Yeah.
They have a good front office, and so you just hope that 2016
Yeah.
they can right some wrongs that they chose to ignore before that caught up and bit them in the butt this time. So
Yeah, we're going to talk about Ozzie Newsome and whether he can work his magic a little bit later in this segment. But yeah, with the they were in the AFC Central, right? I mean, I remember
correct.
when, yeah,
Yes.
initially. And listen, in all fairness, it was a bigger division for one thing, a little bit bigger division
Right.
for one thing, and it was a tough division.
It was. It was definitely fun back then. I mean, because you had Pittsburgh, who was
The
obviously
Raiders were
always been
were good
good,
then. Well, they're coming back, but yeah.
but they had well, the Raiders was in the West, but we had
Oh, were
Jacksonville
they?
that was
Okay.
good. You had the Titans that was good. The Steelers were good, and I believe, don't quote me, but I think the Colts were there. So I mean, you just had fun. Cleveland
Mm.
has always been Cleveland. Then Cincinnati before, Marvin Lewis wasn't that spectacular. But you had those teams that always made football fun. So yeah,
Yeah,
I miss the AFC Central. Those were good rivalries that we don't really get
they
to see much
were.
anymore because obviously we've realigned. Baltimore's
Mhm.
with Pittsburgh, Tennessee is with Jacksonville, but yeah, those were good days.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up and see who else was in that. It really was. I don't. I guess I just remember the Raiders and the Ravens both um, putting some tough, heartbreaking losses on the Oilers and then the Titans. This,
Hmm.
this isn't going to give me a good list. All right. Well, yeah, it is the AFC North is a little bit of it's a smaller division, but still it's last year definitely tough, and it's going to be interesting to see how it some injuries at the quarterback position all around. It's going to be interesting to see
Yep.
how it all comes out in the end.
I mean, you have every team has been affected at the quarterback position thus far this season. The only one that seems to be at the top is Pittsburgh because that's healthy. But now you got Andy Dalton that's out, and then you had Josh Allen went down, and then James Zell's in. So this has just been a rough year for the division. But even with that, you have two teams that have one team is going to win the division, and it's depending on how Cincy ends this, out. Might be them, and Pittsburgh is not. They're not in a playoff position as of yet. I don't think they're out on the bubble. So I mean, it's fun to watch. Pittsburgh. I think has lost.
I'm sorry, my internet's going a little bit haywire's trying to up the voltage on it. Yeah, I'm curious to get your thoughts. What do you think about the Bengals? We didn't put it on the production outline, but they're people might be starting to appreciate Andy Dalton a little bit more now. Now that you see AJ McCarron, I mean, asking a young quarterback to come in and work magic is asking a lot of him, but you saw some good things from AJ McCarron, but I do think that people are really going to start to perhaps appreciate Andy Dalton a little more.
I think the thing is the positions to play, and the time there aren't a lot of quarterbacks. I would say that roughly a third, and probably being generous when I said third, of quarterbacks in the NFL are good or better. And unfortunately, those quarterbacks that I'm speaking in reference to that are a good or better are these guys. Matt Ryan, who's had a bad year, Phillip Rivers, who's lost pretty much anybody he could throw to, and Matt Stafford. And these are guys that people would say they're good this year for whatever reason. So, the quarterback is a definite position that we tend to judge the most, and probably unfairly. I've never been a huge Andy Dalton fan, but that doesn't mean I don't think he's good at it. I think that Andy Dalton's good, very good at utilizing what he has as his strengths. But at the same time, I think that people don't give him the credit he has. And when you have a quarterback like that goes down, then you realize, okay, this is what you're gonna get, and it's gonna the momentum is gonna drop dramatically. Sharona, hold on.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's all right.
I apologize.
And no worries at all. I'm talking to Reeta the NFL Chick. I had to switch internet connections while we took a quick break. I don't know. Technology has really been frustrating for me this week. So let's get back to your Ravens and talk a little. I was looking at their stats, and it's not really surprising when you consider Steve Smith Sr. went down and some of the other injuries that Crockett Gilmore's injured, and but Kmart Aiken is the leading receiver for the Ravens. That has to hurt.
Yeah, I mean, going even up until the point that Flacco was injured, the Ravens were ranked 11th on total offense. And so it's funny because we were talking about people giving Andy Dalton his due. Well, you know what? I'm not saying that you should consider Flacco elite, which if anyone knows me, they know I hate that conversation because it's just a stupid one. But I think that when you see the guys that he had, the players that he had, and you compare the wide receivers and the pass catchers that he had amongst others, it's really low. I mean, I could probably make a case that maybe, a team like Cleveland could have possibly had better pass catchers than the Ravens because, they have a really good tight end and they have an up-and-coming wide receiver as well. So, when you look at Kmart Aiken being your leading receiver, and Kmart Aiken is probably a 3 or 4 receiver on any other team. But on the Ravens, he's a leading receiver. That's just about not only the lack of weapons that the Ravens had, but if I'm telling you that up into Flacco's injury that they were ranked 11th offensively. It says a lot about the quarterback position too,
It
because
does.
people only are as good as their quarterback. I know
Hmm.
and I know this doesn't apply to a team like New England, but New England is the exception of the norm. The normal is that the quarterback needs guys that can help him as much, in terms of
Hmm.
getting open and those types of things. And Flacco doesn't have those guys, and so it's just interesting to me that now you find these younger guys who most people had no idea who
Hmm.
he was. They have to step up because so many guys went down. And so
Hmm.
that's a compliment to Joe. It's a compliment to the offensive coordinator. And, obviously now they're going to struggle a lot because they're down to the third string quarterback. And,
Yeah. Jimmy Clausen's
that's
going to
just
be
kind of how it
starting this
goes.
weekend, right?
Yeah, well, they said Muschamp came back to practice, but honestly, we can flip a coin here in terms
Mm-hmm.
of what you think is the outcome. So, it's just you have to credit, the fact that and Kamar Aiken is a good player, but like I said, Kamar
Hmm.
Aiken would be a 3 or 4 on any other team, and
Yeah.
somehow he ends up being the leading receiver.
Yeah. I was looking at, I guess ESPN hasn't updated. That's kind of interesting. Hasn't updated the Ravens depth chart. That's
I mean, it's fluid at this point.
well,
Like,
yeah. I mean, it is, but they haven't even acknowledged that Steve Smith Senior's on IR and all of that. What do you think about Justin Forset's 2015 season?
it was a bit disappointing. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was horrible. But he didn't obviously play as well as he did last year. And it's unfortunate that he didn't really get in his groove. I think the
Yeah.
best word I could use is inconsistent, because I don't think he
Yeah.
was bad. I think he had a couple of games where he showed up and he played well,
Hmm.
and then he had a couple of games where he just really wasn't a factor. And I mean
Hmm.
that really doesn't necessarily have to be forced. That it could be, the Ravens had a lot of issues on the offensive line. They had some players go down. Eugene Monroe missed
Yeah.
some games, and obviously now he's on IR. We had some injuries at the right tackle position and the guard position. So, now the center is out for the year. So the Ravens have had issues, and I
Yeah.
know that doesn't help with Forset's carries. But at the same time, that's all we know is that, he played well last year, and then
Hmm.
obviously this year it was a different story. So I just think that it'd be interesting to see if the Ravens bring him back, because I don't know if they feel like that they're okay with the youth that they have, or if
Right.
that Forset's value in the locker room in terms of being a
Hmm.
mentor to these young guys is valuable enough to keep them. So I'm interested to see how that works, but I like Forset. I just think that they have like two other Forsets on the team, and so you kind of need to get some
Right. Yeah.
balance.
You might need to get someone who's a better Forset.
Right, a young
Yeah.
one, a younger,
Yeah.
better Forset.
You mentioned the offensive line, and I don't know whether you were a fan or not, but how does it feel to see Michael Orr flourishing at left tackle in Carolina?
I mean, I was a fan of Michael as much as he would allow me to be.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, he had times where he really stepped up to play, and then he would
Hmm.
do something dumb like have a false start at home just for no apparent reason. Like you'd be
Yeah.
like, why? I don't even understand why you just moved there.
Uh-huh.
He would he sometimes would drive killers, but I never know that person where I hate to see someone go somewhere else and flourish and feel some type of resent about it. Sometimes you do need a different environment,
Yeah.
and I feel he has played very well for Carolina. Is he Carolina? He's with Carolina now, right?
Yes. Yes. He's with
I
the
believe
Panthers.
he's with Carolina, and
Yes.
Ed Dixon is there as well. Ed Dixon did that great year in Baltimore.
Hmm.
He wasn't really great at catching the passes that touched his hands, but I like those guys are in another position where they can resurge, their careers. And so, I wish nothing but the best for them. Both of those guys was on the Ravens 2012 season, winning the Super Bowl. So maybe they end up getting two somehow. It'd be interesting to see, all the guys on that roster to get two Super Bowls. It'd be interesting if those two guys, the ones that came with a lot of controversy, along with Gary
Yeah.
Williams, be the guys that get a new set of rings. So I'm
Yeah.
happy for them though.
Yeah. You and I have talked about Kerry Williams before, and Yeah,
Yes,
he's
in
having a
depth.
very eventful year,
Yeah.
to say the least. So obviously the Ravens have some issues outside the injury issues, but the injury issue is definitely a huge thing. Ozzie Newsome, kind of known as a wizard in the off season at the draft and in free agency, can he work his magic and fix this team?
You hope so. I mean, at the very least, you want them to. The last few first rounders have really been underwhelming. CJ Mosley, I think was going to be the turnaround from that. And then this year he struggled and he could have been injured more than the Ravens let on. I'm not really sure why he declined in play,
Hmm.
but in the past, their first rounders just haven't been that eventful, and we're just waiting for
Numbers
them
aren't
to.
bad. I looked
I
at
mean, they
his
aren't
numbers.
bad, but we're used to seeing
Yeah,
stout players like a Ed
yeah.
Reed, like a Ray Lewis, a Jonathan Ogden, a Jamal Lewis, and and just in the past few years, it's just not been possible. Hold on, Sharona.
Yeah. Okay. I'm talking to Rita, the NFL Chick. You're listening to Back Talk with Sharona. I'm your host. My name is Sharona. Talking some Baltimore Ravens. We're going to get to the SEC here in a minute. Talk some
All
Florida
right.
Gators. We'll get Rita's opinion
Yes.
about. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Just to finish up, round out our Ravens talk. We're talking about the off season. What is on your off season wish list?
Everything. If the answer could be yes, it would just be yes because we need everything. We
Yes,
need
please.
everything. I mean,
You'd like to go
seriously,
to
like,
the NFL version of the Walmart and just start picking up things?
yes, we need everything. We need running back. We need wide receivers. I mean, Kamar Aiken is the number one guy. And look, to be fair, the Ravens with Rashad Perriman, and they did try to
Hmm.
re-sign Torrey Smith. It kind of irritates me when people are like, the Ravens let Torrey Smith go. No, they offered him a deal and he
Yeah,
declined. That
yeah,
and the deal that they offered him was a fair deal. You don't overspend for
yeah.
guys. And Torrey, no, with no disrespect, because I love Torrey, he's a good guy and
Right.
he's a very good player. But look at the struggles that San Francisco's had. So,
Yeah.
it's not
Wonder
like
if he
he's
regrets
proven.
that. Yeah.
I mean, you know, so you can't regret money, but in terms
No,
of like if
I don't
your
know.
passion is football and your numbers are important, then yeah, I
Hmm.
feel like he would regret something like that. But
Yeah,
who saw that coming? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's like I want them to be smart and
Hmm.
make a lot of good draft choices. I think the Raiders have something about 11 draft picks in this upcoming draft,
Oh,
and
good.
now that the competition committee is really, I don't know if it actually has been approved yet, but they are people to trade compensatory picks. So I just want them to be competitive and find ways to get wide receivers. I think that this team, this organization is very snake bitten when it comes to drafting wide receivers because we haven't had the best of luck minus Tory. But
Hmm.
you have to take these chances. Pittsburgh
Yeah,
has done the same thing, and you've seen them let players go
yeah.
and replace them with guys in the draft, and it's benefited them for
Hmm.
that specific reason alone. So wide
Hmm.
receivers is definitely the most important. Secondary, you have to fix. That's just you have to fix.
Yeah.
Defensive line, you need to fix that because you don't have depth there. There
Hmm.
and some offensive line too. Because Monroe, I think that they're probably going to have to make some decisions on him whether they bring him back next year. I think I saw something about he's played a total of 20 games in 2 seasons, which
Oh,
that ain't a lot.
wow.
So out of he's missing almost half as many games as he's played. So
Yeah,
you just have to they have a lot of issues here, a
yeah,
lot of issues, and they lack depth of decent players. So
yeah.
that's why my answer would be yes, because I feel
Yeah.
like outside of the quarterback position, everything could be upgraded.
Yeah, it's a long list, and I was looking at the roster, and um, what are your expectations? I know it's early; you don't know what they're going to do in the off season, and all. Do you think that the Ravens are just going to be in rebuild mode for the next year or two?
Maybe, but the way football is set up is that you don't have to be in rebuild mode. Every time that someone says
Yeah,
team is rebuilding, they bounce back. And I mean, I
yeah,
remember the past. seasons like the Ravens are rebuilding, and then they would be ready. So I mean, I don't think that the league really is a quick turnaround. It's all about what you do in your off season. And it's all about
Mm-hmm.
the health of your team that determines what happens to you when it comes to January. And so, obviously, those two things are the issues with the team now. But I think that next season they have money. They want to restructure Flacco's contract because his cap number goes up tremendously. They get money back as well
Right.
from so get that draft picks, picks. You want them to be smart free agency. You want them to so you can give us cap relief. Because if I'm Flacco, you just want to give him the money that you offered him up front. At the end of the day, I mean, I can't see how he wouldn't want to help team bring in guys that's going to help him better. You understand? So
Yeah.
I can't see how he would not be okay with that. But I just think that the Ravens are a good organization. They're very well coached. Obviously, they've had a lot of bad breaks their way, games that should have been just and confirm that.
All right, Rita, are you still with me? Rita, are you still with me? Hello?
I don't know what happened just now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Are you still with me?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. I'm trying to fix the connectivity issues, and I think we've got them fixed, thank goodness. So sorry about that.
Okay.
Talking to Reeta, the NFL chick, we're going to turn our attention to SEC football. Reeta and I talked a little bit about Florida earlier around the Florida-Tennessee game. It's interesting. I got into what turned out to be a rather contentious, I think is the word I'm looking for, debate with Tennessee fans. Florida, do you think that they outperformed expectations this year? I think that's a fair statement, don't you?
Beyond fair. I mean, they were projected to be either second to last or dead last in the SEC East. No one
Yeah.
gave Florida a chance. I didn't give Florida a chance. No one. Those guys in Gainesville that played the game and coached it thought that Florida could be something. And so when you started to see that Tennessee game, although it was very early, it was in September, that was honestly the turnaround game for them. And that was the game that
Yeah.
I believe propelled them to get confidence and to, moving and building momentum. That game built them so much. As a fan, I watched that. I mean, from to in the third quarter, it was really, as a Gator fan, it was very hard to watch. I think I stopped watching it until the fourth quarter when I went to Twitter and I was talking about, how
Yeah.
here we go, here we go, Muschamp again. That game propelled them to make the push that they did. And then obviously when Will Greer was suspended, you thought, people, okay, including myself, trying to be okay. And they started off okay because, he's regressed week after week after week. And so the thing about it, though, is that you see the potential of the team and you see how very well coached that they are with McElwain. I understand that the SEC East is very poor. I don't care. I don't want to hear about how poor it is when you have teams like Tennessee, who I projected to win the East, by the way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and Georgia, who, had, their own situation going. They should have been ran away with the East, one or the other. Tennessee or Georgia should have run away with the East, and they didn't. And so
Yep.
I don't care how bad the division is. When you have a team that you have no expectations for, with a first-year coach, with no quarterback, and a
Mm-hmm.
makeshift offensive line, because really their
Mm-hmm.
offensive line was just it was really something that they made up, and they get 10-3. You have to take your hat off to that coach, because no one, most coaches can't do that. Most coaches can't turn that around and make something out of nothing the way that Jim McElwain is. So, it's fun because now we're talking recruiting, because we know bowl season is really in the thick of it now. People are, committing to teams and whatnot. And so it's just fun. It's fun. It's been hard to enjoy being a Gator fan, with
Mhm.
Muschamp. But when you have
Yeah.
an offensive coach, I think you do better because football is becoming an offensive sport now. So you feel better about yourself when you know that you have a coach that's um, brought in some guys and did some really good things with them elsewhere, and that is going to be running your football team. So I'm excited to see what.
You mentioned Will Muschamp. That was such a shocking hire for me in South Carolina. I'm still. I've talked about that a little bit on this show. I'm still kind of shaking my head. I
Uh-huh.
said on. I mentioned that I had a contentious discussion with Tennessee fans yesterday. I said on. I tweeted that Tennessee had a better roster than Florida, which I think is a very reasonable statement.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
particularly at the quarterback situation. Yeah,
yeah, and
and running back.
I had dudes telling me that this is why you couldn't take me seriously and stuff. I was just crazy.
Well, I think
Yeah, I mean,
defensively, I feel like defensively, Florida had the advantage.
maybe a little
You
bit
know,
of an, but one of your best cornerback was suspended for that game, wasn't he?
for
For the
who?
Tennessee game, there were two players
Uh,
suspended. Two of your best players.
yeah, but I don't think it. I don't. When you say best cornerback, of course, my thought process is Hargraves, and I believe he played. Um,
Let me
I don't
see.
know. I don't remember. But the thing is like offensively,
Yeah,
Tennessee
here we
is
go.
absolutely
Jalen Tabor. I didn't
yes.
say your best, but one of your best, and he is one
But
of your
yes, one
best.
of you, because Jalen is one of the best. Yes. So yeah,
Yes.
he was. Yes. Now I do remember Tabor being out, and so I mean, my thing is that although I gave Florida advantage defensively, Tennessee get what almost 100 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Against Florida. So I mean, I do agree with you that at least on the offensive side of the ball, Tennessee is a much better. I mean, I don't really feel like it's debatable. I just think that one team probably benefited from, having the coach that they had and
Mhm.
being able to make adjustments, and
Mhm.
that was the difference in the ball game. I don't really feel like,
Yeah.
that thing is debatable, but us as women, we know that when people, particularly men, they love to start poo-pooing what we see because we're a woman.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. You just have to. I'm so used to it now. I just. Yeah, I just laugh
yeah,
about it
me too.
now because you definitely develop a thick hide and when you have any sort of significant social media presence, and you definitely have a
Yes.
bigger. I think one of the reasons I admire Rita in so many ways, and I'm always so thankful that she has, she volunteers her time to come on this show. But one of the things that I admire about her so much is her social media game. I think she's one of the best.
Thank
And
you.
I don't know. Some women object to the word female, which makes me scratch my head. Women, female, chick, whatever, whatever name that you prefer, label that you
That's your
prefer.
fancy. Mm-hmm.
You do it very well, and there's so many times I just sit and watch you tweet, and I'm just so incredibly entertained. It's great. But yeah, no, you're right, and you
I'm
just have
glad
to.
you're entertained because
I'm here to be
I'm so
entertained.
glad.
I'm telling you. So, we mentioned Tennessee. They just gave Butch Jones a raise. This is kind of what got me. Butch Jones has a lot of fanboys in the Tennessee fan base. I can tell you that. From the
Mm-hmm.
outside looking in, what was your reaction to Tennessee giving Butch Jones a raise? And it's not an extension, so it's not as bad as it sounds.
I guess they like the direction that they're headed. Maybe they feel like Butch Jones is doing a job. Maybe they feel like giving him some time to. They feel like they're very close to being they have to be. I'm not really sure. I mean, my thing is if much worse you South fans right now, and Will Muschamp could be yours. So you kind of have to take it for what it's worth. A raise is not an extension. It's just a raise. I mean,
Hmm.
people get raises
Well,
all
he
the
got
time.
an
Doesn't mean they're
extension,
gonna
right? He got an extension at the end of 2014. And
right.
so, and I think that he got an extension and now they're. I mean, it's like I compare. I said that, and I understand why they did it, and you're exactly right. But in a sense, Butch Jones has them hostage because he has improved the talent, the coach, the X's and O's, the coaching, the in game and game day
Mm-hmm.
coaching is still a work in progress. So, but what do you
Yeah.
do?
Yes. Yeah, I
And
mean that's something that they got to talk to. Like you got to figure out how to make some change. Maybe you need to make some changes in your coaching staff. I don't know, but I feel like Butch Jones is very close to being, to getting the balls back. And the same person that picked them to win the East. So that was a very good coming. I believe it was top three. You know, looked like it was their time because with all Georgia does what Georgia does.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
You think they'll just rebuild and reload and be okay?
or Georgia.
Georgia.
Oh yeah, you would hope. I mean, Kirby
Yeah.
Smart is a good coach. I think that he's a very good coach. I don't know what he's like as a recruiter, but obviously they were able to keep Eason, who Florida tried to steal once
Hmm.
Rick left, and he said he
Hey,
wanted to stay
they
with
say all's
Georgia.
fair in love and recruiting.
That's right. It's the same thing. So he decided to stay. He's the number one ranked quarterback in the country. So I mean that's a great thing to build on. So I think Georgia will be fine. They're still in the SEC. I think it's very hard. Unless you're Kentucky or Vanderbilt, and Kentucky has actually gotten better too, but
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's just Vanderbilt. But
Vanderbilt. Yeah.
like, SEC never have a problem with recruiting, and
Yeah.
a guy like Kirby Smart, who has the resume that he has, coming from Alabama and the championships, absolutely gives young kids the at least the notion that if I can't go to Alabama, if I can't go to this team, then Georgia might be, the next best thing. So yeah, I think Georgia will be fine.
Yeah, I do too. You're right. I like Kirby Smart. I think he's a good coach. Uh,
Hmm.
Jeremy Pruitt is a good coach too. Not so sure I wouldn't have just gone ahead and kept that continuity and all of that. But
Right.
they went in another direction, and that's fine. It's he's now at Alabama. I think Nick Saban just picked up the phone and called him and said,
Oh, you're
"Come
free.
on, yeah, come on." Speaking of Alabama, they're in the playoffs once again. Are you excited about the playoffs this year?
Of course. I mean, I would still think that 6 teams is more formidable.
Yeah,
I think 4 teams is just not giving us
it's
enough.
too
But
small. Yeah,
here it is.
yeah.
We're not. It's not here nor there. I tweeted a few weeks ago that those exact same teams that are in it now, they went out and that was about 4 weeks ago, that they would be in the Final Four, and here they are. They're in the Final Four. I think that they've earned it. Um, I'm excited to see what happens. Um, I think that Clemson got over the hump. I think that Clemson will not pull a Clemson. I won't go there, but I think that Oklahoma is the better team,
Mm.
and I think that Oklahoma beats Clemson. And then I think as far as Alabama and Michigan State goes, Michigan State is good, but I think Alabama's just better coached. I believe that D'Antonio was one of Nick Saban's assistants at one point.
Mhm.
So, Nick Saban always beats down his students. So just kind of what he does. So I think Alabama will
Maybe I'm
prevail.
not giving Oklahoma enough credit. I said that I thought Oklahoma and Tennessee had their rosters were fairly even, but they're definitely a good football team. I mean, maybe I'm biased. I like Clemson. I've always enjoyed watching Clemson, and I think that his name is escaping me. Clemson's coach, Dabo Sweeney, has
Dabo, yeah.
done a fantastic job there.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
an outstanding job
Absolutely.
there.
They absolutely, and I'm not a Bob Stoops fan at all. I mean, look at how anti SEC is. He's
Yeah.
annoying, but
He is
I will
annoying.
say that he is. But when Texas beat them, I felt like that was a rude awakening that they needed. It like woke
Yeah,
up a sleeping giant, and they have been
yeah.
on a tear since then.
I'll
And
give you
so,
that. Yeah,
you know, I just like the momentum that they have now. Now,
yeah,
of course, that
yeah.
can change because they're going to be off for a month,
Mhm.
from their last football game. So who knows how they'll show up? And Clemson
Right.
could very well. If Clemson won, it wouldn't surprise me. Let me say that
Yeah.
because this is no disrespect to Clemson,
Right.
but
Right.
I will admit that I'm a little concerned that Clemson, really didn't dominate the way that I thought they would the last couple of weeks of their season. But I still think Clemson is a good team. I still think that they have every chance to make it to the final. There's no reason for us to not say that they won't. I just liked that at the end of the season, the momentum that Oklahoma had was really telling to me that they were ready to show people that they were back at it. Defensively. Oklahoma is very good defensively, and I don't think no one really talks about at least down they've been. They've been really good defensively, and so I'm just curious to see how that all plays out. But yeah, because I like
Yeah.
Mayfield and I like Deshaun Watson. I think that those are probably the two that quarterback matchup that head to head obviously beats the other game because
So you think it's
hope
going to
there's
be
not
You
something
think
to
it'll
write
be
home about.
Oklahoma? You think it'll be Oklahoma, Michigan State, or Oklahoma, Alabama in the title game?
Alabama.
Yeah.
I think it's Oklahoma, Alabama, and obviously we've seen this before. Bob Stoops has beaten Nick Saban before in a big bowl game.
Yeah.
And to be quite fair, I feel like he beat him in a bowl game that had better talent, Nick
Oh,
Saban.
okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying I think that Oklahoma wins. I'm just saying that it just
Okay.
to me this is that is the matchup that I feel like gives me the most that has the most impact
Yeah.
because I like Michigan State a lot. But I swear to you, when I watched Michigan State and Iowa up until like that, like mid
Yeah.
fourth quarter, it was just like
Yeah.
plucking my eyebrows out. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it was just all defense. And so now that we're geared towards offense all the time, it was
Mhm.
just a very, stifling game
Mhm.
to watch or a period of time. So it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see how this all plays out.
I talked a lot about Serena and her very deserving Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year award on Wednesday's podcast. And I would be very remiss if I didn't get your thoughts on it before I let you get out of here. What in your mind? What does it mean for women of color to have? Well, Serena is such a dominant player. What does
Hmm.
it mean to have her named, very deservedly so, but to have her named for that award?
It means everything. I mean, we just don't get that honor that much.
Hmm.
Sure, plenty of times we've seen black men,
Hmm.
on these covers, but very rarely do you see a black woman in sports
Yeah.
get some type of, accolades. And
Hmm.
Serena had a great year, and it
You
ended.
did.
I almost cried when it
I
ended.
know.
Because you
Yeah.
wanted her so bad, wanted it for herself.
Yeah.
But I just feel like she's very, very, very deserving of what
Yes.
happened. And I think it's a lot of people are mad and they wanted a horse to win. Because first of
That
all,
was the stupidest thing.
you know what a sportsman is. A horse is not a human being. First of all,
Yeah.
it didn't say sports personality or sports winner. It said sportsman. And I'm like, okay, I don't see how the horse can win
Yeah.
that anyway. But it's fun. That's
Yeah.
funny to me because
Yeah.
it's a horse, and it's just funny to
Mhm.
me because it's really like Serena, and I don't get it, but I don't even care to try to understand. I don't care. The prime example that's well, you celebrate yourself doing well. Everybody's not receptive of your
Yeah.
success, so I don't care. Middle finger to the haters. I love Serena. I'm glad that she won. She looks great on the cover, and
She does.
keep making them
She
mad.
really does.
Keep
Yeah. Yeah.
keep sea walking on them.
Keep styling on them, Serena.
That's
You
right.
know, you're never going to make everybody happy, and that the whole Horse Twitter is the worst. You heard it
Yes.
here.
Who even knew they existed? Who
Right?
knew that it
I
existed?
mean, man. Yeah, Rita, thanks so much for joining me. Tell everybody out there about, I know you've got a podcast and it's doing extremely
Yes.
well. Give a big shout out to it and tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
So yes, we do have a podcast. Myself and at Chelsea's Right. I am at the NFL Chick, and it's the Gridiron Gals podcast. We do it once a week, and we just talk football. It's kind of
Have fun.
conversational.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing serious. It's too many serious podcasts
Yeah.
already out here and corporate podcasts, and we don't belong to nobody but ourselves.
There you
So
go.
we curse.
Yeah.
We just talk about it like how we would be talking about football if it was just she and I without the equipment and everything. And so
Right.
it's been fun. This is our first year, and we really enjoyed doing it, and I hope everybody enjoys it too. So if you go to at the NFL Chick on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, or you go to at Chelsea's Right on Twitter, you can find the link there. I have the tweet.
We'll tweet out a link for
week.
you so everybody can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll tweet that link out. Thanks again, Rita. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.